Lack of decorum or a disruptor? Advocate Malesela Teffo has split opinions on his mannerisms in court while representing 4 of the 5 accused in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Teffo has since withdrawn from the case, saying that he doesn't like to be the center of those proceedings. Let's bring in Bayethe Maswazi, the Black Lawyers Association president, to get what they think about what's been happening in this trial. Thank you very much, Mr. Maswazi, for your time here on All Angles. First of all, we've spoken to a lot of legal experts on this channel who've said that, Advocate Malesela Teffo's decorum is quite questionable. What is your opinion of his behavior in court throughout the couple of months that we've seen it?
Yeah, it does appear, thanks for having me, is that it does appear to fall below the requirements or the conventions that are applicable in court. With that, we agree.
All right, just give me more. What do you mean by that? Do you think that his, decorum was indeed questionable? Do you feel that he did make a few mistakes as a lawyer in court, for instance, not following the criminal law processes?
Well, there's quite a number of things, and I do not intend to harvest the merits of the matter, but how he addresses the court in some instances, it does appear to be below the requisite standard. At some point, he was even asked not to derobe inside court. Now, every practitioner knows that that's an acceptable, recognized convention that counsel or even an attorney does not robe or derobe in court, meaning whilst the court is sitting. You go outside and robe or get out and derobe. The application for the accused to be detained somewhere else and not seem to also to have been before court in using a procedure that is unusual, because hence the judge had to caution him that the parties that he would like that order to operate against were not even invited to court, namely the Department of Correctional Services. So it does, and I agree, it does raise certain unconventionalities on his part.
And I mean, as the Black Lawyers Association, you're an organization that basically, intends to look after the reputation of black people practicing law, right? So in terms of the example that Advocate Malesela Teffo has set and what you've just said right now with the agreement that he's been a bit below par, what do you think of your mandate as the Black Lawyers Association to make black lawyers seem more professional than what he's displayed so far?
Well, we shouldn't make this a black problem. That's the first thing. Look at Advocate Malesela Teffo and decide then that on the basis of how he behaves, then that's a black lawyer problem. It is not. It is to do so. We have one lawyer that has behaved in a manner that is unconventional and that is unacceptable, and that must be condemned. And it doesn't mean that we are dealing with a black lawyer problem. No, that is not the case.
Well, talking about the fact that yesterday he decided to recuse himself from this particular case after spending the entire day speaking to the court about allegations of mistreatment of one of the accused, at the same time arguing that that was very important in terms of justice for the accused, etc., safety, and them feeling safe in prison, only for him to later on then tell the court that he actually is stepping down. What did you think of court proceedings to the point where he actually made this announcement?
Firstly, I find no correlation between the problems that he highlighted and the basis for the withdrawal. Because if there has been harassment against him by, let's say, the NPA, there are forums available for that issue to be addressed. If it is by the police, there are, again, IP, for instance, could be roped in to address that issue. So it can't, in my view, become a basis for a withdrawal. There could be more that he knows, but he has not really let us know what exactly is the problem. In relation to the behavior of or the judge in the matter, I also could not see any basis to suggest that he has been harassed by the court itself. I think the judge in the trial has been very patient with him, and in some instances even his unconventional submissions that he has made to court.
Now, looking at, going back to the topic of you representing black lawyers, so far, your thoughts at least on another black lawyer, for instance, Advocate Zandile Mshololo, for instance, the fact that at some point the judge had to come in and tell Advocate Malesela Teffo that he cannot be bringing new applications during her cross-examination because he was given the opportunity for a number of days to begin and conclude his cross-examination. So the judge essentially saying that Advocate Teffo was being unfair on his learned colleague.
Certainly, because that Advocate Mshololo was in the middle of a cross-examination, I think, of Captain Masia, and obviously by conventions of the court, there can't be an application whilst that cross-examination is still proceeding. And the judge was obviously correct to caution him not to do that whilst cross-examination was still in progress. It's a yet another that he has adopted quite very unconventional procedures in his engagement with the court and his colleagues, which is unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate because it comes off as though he is a lawyer, an advocate actually, who doesn't seem to understand the processes that have to be taken when it comes to the criminal procedure and the criminal law. Now, let's talk a little bit about, his behavior still, Mr. Maswazi. At some point, I don't know if you remember, during previous court appearances, Advocate Malesela Teffo actually was on record using the F word or some unconventional, language when he was describing what he thinks happened on the scene in terms of tampering. And at some point, he actually used the F word in court.
Yes, I recall that. And I definitely think that it is embarrassing, and it is a violation, a contravention of the decorum of the court. But let's go back. There are still two kinds in South Africa. There are those that passed their LLB and were, in terms of the previous legislation, allowed to practice as advocates. They would not do the kind of specialized training, for instance, that other advocates would do. It's quite possible that he is one of those. I am not sure. But I would be disappointed if it's an advocate that has been through the process of trial advocacy.
And I think, for a lot of South Africans, this is a very big trial that has a lot of public interest. And, I'm sure you were hoping as, an association that represents black lawyers, that because the public is looking at this case, that there would be lawyers who represent at least the fraternity quite well. And so far, that has been in question. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on All Angles. That was Mr. Maswazi. He's the president of the Black Lawyers Association. Still to